T Show is intended for mature audiences. Parental discussion is advice. Live long and prosper.
Are friends with benefits?
Speaking of having a good time, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Dayton broke the G&T show. This is now the David Mack
Appreciation Hour.
What is it about this guy that people love him so much?
With his purple velvet cape and his crown. I thought it was a little much when he had us carry him in the studio on a throne. I am awesome! Look what I have done! Look what I have brought upon the world!
There is an urge to go, nya.
I heard rumors that you might be working on something else, but we won't prod much. I was going to say it.
I'm going to pry a little.
Dare you! How dare you ask me to change it? Do you not understand the majesty of my genius? And the guy sitting next to me looked at me like he was, like I'd crapped in his hat.
Yeah, it's the professionalism that sells the show. That's right.
Jolan True citizens, welcome to another G&T Supplemental Log. I'm one of your hosts, Gettysburg 7. To my left, your right, there she is. She's, I don't know what was going on in work today. Maybe a theme party, wearing her leggings and her bodysuit with her flash dance hair going. Terry.
Let's get physical.
Sorry.
Really? You're going to do that with flash dance?
You said leggings. All I thought of was the headband and everything, too.
Oh, for God's sake. And there he is wearing his newly designed Lego Klingon uniform, looking very blocky. Ceridium.
Kapla!
And we have three. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, how's everybody doing today?
How's everybody noonin?
We're doing
Did you say noonin?
He did.
He said noonin, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Mike's been watching Caddyshack, evidently.
Caddyshack.
It's our guest. I'm flustered.
Well, you should be. And usually we have one guest. Sometimes we have two. This week, we're shooting the whole thing. We have three. We have Kate, Maria, and Christine. Ladies, please introduce yourselves.
Hello.
Hi, Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria, a.k.a. Zero, producer on Star Trek Online, the greatest game in the world.
That's right.
And I am Christine Thompson, a.k.a. Kestrel, and I am the writer of Star Trek Online.
And I'm Kate, a.k.a. Shelana, and I'm one of the content designers on Star Trek Online.
Yay! Welcome, ladies. And I'm just going to say this and let our audience's imaginations run wild. Maria, one of the best roommates I've ever had at STLV.
The feeling is mutual, sir.
Terry, you take it then.
I know, he's all giddy now. He's going to have to he's going to be tripping over his own tongue. It's very cute. Ladies, as always, it's such a pleasure to talk to, and to be able to talk to all three of you at once is going to be a blast. I'm just so stoked. Hi, Kate. Haven't seen you in a year, honey.
I know. Are you going to be making it out to STLV this year?
We are.
Huzzah! I shall see you there then.
Absolutely. It's what about the other two? Christine, Kestrel and Zero?
Christine is fine. This year I am not going to make it because it is like a week before Gen Con, which is my big con of the year.
I was going to say, you always go to Gen Con every year, don't you?
Also, at Gen Con this year, I will be speaking at two of the panels in the Writers' Symposium, one Thursday afternoon and one on Saturday evening, both about writing for video games.
Oh, that's
wow! Congratulations!
Awesome. That's awesome! Wonderful news. And for those of our listeners who will be going to Gen Con, don't forget to go to her panel. So there you go.
And so my con of the year is, of course, Benedict Cumberbatch. But I don't know yet if I'm going to STLV. I'm thinking maybe not. I'm not sure. I have to go see my nephew, and
Oh, family comes first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we hope we see you there. Yeah, the G&T show has not just a booth this year, but we have a double wide, and we are playing host to James Kerwin, the director of Star Trek Continues, as well as Kipley Brown, who was in Star Trek Enterprise, Star Trek Continues and many
Are
other
You Are.
projects. I know RUR, and I mean, just
Yep.
so it's going to be great. And then we're also doing what we call the Personal Trek Project, which is we're beginning an archive of files and audio of people telling their own stories about how they became Star Trek fans. So why don't we kick it off with talking?
Well, I do
all
have to give
three of
Christine
you.
a message.
Uh-huh.
Last year, talking to Nicole DeBoer, she does want to meet you and talk to you. That's all
Okay.
I'm going to say.
All right. We'll see what we can do.
So we'll start it off with the Personal Trek Project. If the three of you want to tell us, kind of in your own words, how did Star Trek?
Oh, please, use each other's words.
Use each other's words. Yeah, talk for each other. Make up stories about how each one of you became Star Trek fans.
Well, okay, I'll give you my story about how I became a Star Trek fan. I grew up in a little town in Indiana, and nobody watched sci-fi or fantasy or anything like that, and I did not know very much about any of this at all until I met my husband, Cryptic Frost. Some of you guys know him from the forums.
Yeah.
And after we'd been dating for a while, he found out I had never seen an episode of Star Trek and was horrified and ran to the video store to get the only episode that was available on the shelf, Spock's Brain.
Oh
my gosh.
Well, it was a matter of honor, but that's just as good.
Yes.
Yeah, it could have been a code of honor. That's right.
Yeah, but after watching a couple of those, we ended up watching Star Trek II, and I cried, and it was awesome. And ever since then, I have been a huge Trek fan.
Cool.
Kate?
Did I really say a matter of honor? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you did.
When I was a wee little one, the original series was actually on TV, and I had no idea what it was, but I thought it was a hilariously awesome show. They kind of had, like, I remember, like, there was a thing, and, like, they got into, fights with aliens on the planet, and, I was a child of the 80s, so it was a little bit dated by then. And
You're telling me you knew darn well it was total cheese.
Yeah, it was total cheese, and it was really entertaining to young me, and I, Kirk and Spock would, get into, fisticuffs with things on the planet, and, occasionally you'd have dudes in, like, green lizard suits throwing rocks at him, and he'd lose his shirt, and, it was kind of a little bit cheesy, and I loved Uhura, because she was the girl, and so she was, like, my favorite, and then, Kirk and Spock were, like, the cool superhero buddy guys, and it was great, but I didn't really know what it was, and I kind of lost track of what it was, and then years later I caught Next Generation just by chance on TV, and I was like, this is awesome, this is so cool, this is great, what is this? And so I started watching it more regularly, and that was kind of like, I made the connection, wait, that stuff that I had been watching as a little kid that was so much fun, this is the new version, oh, that's kind of cool. And I've kind of been watching since then.
Yeah, Kate got to see me squee at the San Francisco Con last year, where I finally got to meet Gates McFadden, because Dr. Crusher is amazing and one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
No, don't go there, Nick. We're not starting. No squirrels. No squirrels. No. Maria, what about you?
Well, my story is so similar to Kate, but instead I'm going to tell the true story of how Christine got into Trek. The deal is, we're not supposed to talk about this, but it's just, it's just the few of us here. But Christine is actually from the future, and she came back to make sure that we got their story straight. So it's not so much that she's a fan of it, that she's, she's helping.
She's lived it.
Right, yeah. She, like the temporal directive and stuff, and that one guy. Anyway.
Like Matt Brewer, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the real story of Christine and Trek.
So it's Christine Headroom, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was that, Nick?
Like Christine Headroom.
Yeah, Christine Headroom. Oh, careful, Kestrel. That's what we're going to start calling you on. Kestrel Headroom.
Kestrel.
Now, for some of our listeners who do not know, each one of you holds a unique role in video game development, not just for Star Trek Online, but in video game development on the whole. And I would like for you to kind of discuss briefly for our listeners who may not be familiar with what it is that your job entails. Could you go through that a little about what it is that you do, not just for Star Trek Online, but how it fits in the greater gaming world?
Okay, I'll start. I'm a writer, which is a little bit of an odd position here at Cryptic because we have a full-time writer on staff. Sometimes other game companies won't. They will just hire a freelancer to do a chunk of content and then go on. But I'm here as part of the staff, so I'm helping to develop stories, character. I write dialogue. I work with content designers to make sure everything flows together and we're telling the kind of story we want to tell. I also work with voiceover, a little bit of audio directing, narrative design, whatever needs to be done. Sort of all relating around words.
And Kate, what is a content designer?
So in the cookie of design, we are the GUI center. Is often how it is described. Basically, the stuff that you play, we are the ones who are kind of driving mission design. We're the ones who are putting together things. I've done a couple of featured episodes, so that is probably the best example of what it is a content designer does.
Kate is the content designer of both Sphere of Influence and Surface Tension.
Wow. God, those were big.
Yeah.
Those were big.
Those were big.
Makes it big.
Yeah, I showed up on the team and they're like, here, have Kittimer. And I was like... So
did you really make that noise?
I did make that noise.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I did make that noise. So we do a lot of like figuring out like where are you going, what are you doing. We work very closely with Christine to figure out what the story is. We work with the environment artists to make sure that where you are going is interesting and fills all the stuff that we need and the gameplay is good. We work with the systems guys because hey, we need this critter to do this, or I was thinking that this ship battle is going to be like this, or what do you guys think that they would want as rewards? Let's incorporate those and make it all kind of work together. And occasionally we ask for, more technical things.
So essentially what you are is an intermediary, almost like a storyboard planner. You lay out the function of the player within the world that is coded?
Partially. We kind of develop that, like what you're going to do as a pitch, and then we kind of implement that process. I personally put together all that nifty stuff that you do when you go on your adventure with Worf and when you go on your adventure with Tuvok. But I worked with the animators. Hey, it would be really awesome if we had Undine crawling down the walls, and so had to make sure that happened.
That was very, very cool, by the way.
So it could be described as, for instance, everyone on the team, they create the Lego blocks, and you're the one that actually assembles
it's
the final product.
Yeah, I'm the one who's putting the Lego blocks together, and to a large part, my artist and I, they usually pair us up. We're the ones who are also designing the Lego manual that, defines what blocks we need for the awesome creation, the spaceship.
Everything is awesome. Oh, sorry.
We can build it.
You can build it, and you use the manual, and there's nothing wrong with using a manual when you want to build a Lego project. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no.
Okay. and Maria, you're a producer now.
Yes.
What the heck does that mean?
We are the music makers. We are the dreamers of dreams.
She's the one who does we're all behind schedule.
Yeah, actually, production is a somewhat varied role because there's so many different ranks of it. At the top, you have the executive producer who he oversees the overarching story, the budget, certainly, but also the overarching story, like where do we want to take this game, in the next year or two? Where do we want to go? What do we think, needs to be focused on? And then at the very bottom of the rung of production, you have somebody who's just kind of doing my old position, which was making all the builds to give to QA and typing up punch lists and organizing play tests and where I am now currently, you will oversee the way we do it on Star Trek is I oversee certain teams, so I handle all of the art teams except for the environment art, the world builders, and I also will handle certain features. So when a designer and an artist are making a featured episode, a producer will own that, and they will be responsible for making sure if it's on schedule, if it's on, if everything's tracking okay, is it up to the quality that we want? Is QA testing it when they ought to be? Are we doing play tests of it? Is everyone involved in the process? How do they like it? That kind of thing. It's a lot like babysitting.
And who do you eventually report to?
Previously, I reported directly to the EP, and currently I report to Salami Inferno, who reports to the EP.
Okay.
Because we did a little bit of a restructure, but yeah. And then at the COO.
And so there's multiple producers handling multiple smaller teams that report up through a chain.
Yep.
Okay. And everybody kind of works on different projects simultaneously?
Well, if by projects you mean within the game itself?
Yes.
Kind of. I oversee, so we'll say, if we go back to, say, Legacy of Romulus and
which is good.
9, right? So I would oversee the ships being made for Legacy of Romulus launch, right, which would be all the birds of prey and so forth. Warbirds. Yeah, warbirds. It would yeah. On the show, because I watch TOS. Anyway, but I would oversee those, but then also oversee ships that were going live much sooner. So I think at that time, maybe it was the Armitage,
like a lockbox ship,
with the Aventine, and Lockbox also. So depending on your team, like when you're handling the content team and the environment team, usually you're looking a little further out because most of their stuff doesn't go live anytime near term. But that is not true of the ship team, for instance. But
I'm sure there's a constant production over there.
Yeah, so we're all working on the same stuff at the same time. For production, none of us is so isolated that it's like I'm only working on, say, season 9.5 and not anything beyond that.
Cool. Mike? I know you've got questions, huh?
Yeah, but I'm just sorry. I'm a bit distracted. Too many people talking to me at once. The voices.
Get used to it.
I have doctors that can help with that.
I have meds that can help with that.
I can pick up and run. I just wanted to make sure that Mike popped in whenever he wanted. Now, Kate and Christine have both had the experience of being able to write narrative or prose fiction in Star Trek Magazine. Have you guys had any recent opportunity, or can we expect some more stuff in the future, maybe?
I will have a story coming out in issue 50, which is coming out pretty soon, I think, because I saw promos for it go up on Facebook today. That will be a story that kind of has a little bit of a TOS angle. It's the Enterprise F crew, but it ties into a TOS episode as well.
That's fun.
And after that, there will be another story in the October issue, and it might be a Klingon story. I haven't 100% decided yet. But then after that, we're going to go on and see what they want, and if they want to keep getting stories from us and such.
So in other words, for Nick to get a Romulan story, he should write to the publisher of Star Trek Magazine. Before he says anything, I'm going to just...
It doesn't really matter, because much like Star Trek 3, it'll be the Romulans, and then they'll bend them over, and it'll become the Klingons.
It sounds like Kate wants to write a Romulan story.
I would do that. So. If they want one, I will totally do that.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Right on, Kate. Right on.
Thank you, Kate.
They're fun. I like Romulans.
Look, I do have a question. Getting a little bit off topic, but what games do ladies play?
Oh, gosh. I really like Halo, and still Doom and Doom 2, but I also dig on Professor Layton, those games on my DS, because I
love Professor Layton. I have my DS right next to my desk, because it makes me think.
Right. And then also, of course, Star Trek Online, because one has
to. Because you have to. No, I'm just
yeah. No, I mean, I do play it because I have to, but I do play it because I like to also. And, I don't know, whatever, the guys here are always coming up with something. I just got from the Steam sale, I got one called, the Cat Lady, I think it's called. And it's pretty dark. It's like, anyway, it's interesting. It's an adventure game.
What about the...
Yeah, I play MMOs. That's where I really got started, was like City of Heroes. But, you know, so I play STO and Neverwinter, but I love my DS. Another one, I love my DS. I love JRPGs. I love old Final Fantasies. I like Pokemon.
Oh, I love that.
On PC, I like BioWare games. I played all 3 of the Mass Effects and did not have nearly as much of a problem with the ending as some people did. I won't tell you how it ends.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also right now I'm playing the Banner Saga, which is it's an interesting game.
Well, then, Christine, I'll let you know now. Do you know who Melinda Snodgrass is, right? Yes?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And for those people who do not know, Melinda Snodgrass is the writer for Star Trek's episode The Measure of a Man.
Mm-hmm.
She happens to be a New Mexico resident and very fun to follow. She is a massive console PC gamer, and she was one of those people who did not like the end to that particular game, so much so she wrote fan fiction and created a new ending. So if you ever want to read...
I will say it is not the ending I would have chosen, and I'm trying very hard not to give any spoilers at all because Kate has not finished the game yet.
And I'm being very, very cryptic.
Yes, but there were, looking at it as a game developer, there were so many pulls on what they had to do and probably what they have to plan for future games that you know, having anything besides, we have no idea what to do now, here's a bunny with a pancake on its head, was a bit of an accomplishment.
Yeah. Especially when you get to that point in a series that, you know, everybody loves. It's like pretty much like no matter what you do, somebody's not going to be happy.
Right.
Do you think that maybe you were a bit biased about that because you understood the...
I think understanding part of what goes into it, did influence how I saw it. It does. Making games influences how you play games.
And that's what I was going to make a general question is to all 3 of you. Is there a game that... Okay, we all know which one. No, wait, who didn't answer what games they played? It was
Kate.
Yeah.
Kate?
I like, to an extent, I like RPGs, but I got my start kind of playing like Diablo. I really enjoyed that. I also like strategy, you know, style games, like RTSs. I love the StarCraft series, Warcraft, you know, Company of Heroes, those style of games. A big fan of 4Xs, you know, like Sins of a Solar Empire and, you know, like of that nature, like Endless Space was lots of fun. I played that quite a bit. Oh my god, the UI is so sexy in that game. It is. And I'm finally getting to play Mass Effect, as has been mentioned. When it came out, I did not have a laptop that could play it, and I didn't have a desktop at all, because I was a little bit of a nomad. I was still in graduate school, and or just coming out of it, so I had no money, and I didn't have a console. I'm not really a console gamer. I'm much more of a PC gamer, so I'm finally getting to play through it and enjoying it quite a bit. But I have avoided the details of the spoilers because I don't want to know what happens in the story. I'm enjoying it. I play MMOs is the other thing I really do. I've you know, STO, like you do, a little Neverwinter. I've played WoW in the past because everybody does.
Everybody's played WoW.
No, I have not played WoW.
I have not played it.
Yeah.
Neither have I.
All right. Oh, fair enough.
I haven't played it. No. I've never played it. The first MMO I ever played was STO, so...
Yeah, same here.
Yep.
Yeah. City of, and I'm currently playing still a little bit of Star Wars, because I have people that I raid with, and it's super duper lots of fun to hang out with those people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, see, the fact that you're playing Mass Effect, I don't feel bad that I just discovered BioShock then.
What?
Oh, really? I'm going to get judged.
You're good.
Really?
I'm not going to judge.
I just discovered it because a whole bunch of the cosplayers I follow all rave about it. So I was like, all right, I got BioShock 1 and 2 for $15 together, unopened and everything, and because it was like a clearance sale, and I am like so hooked on that now.
I was a spider splicer for Halloween a couple years ago.
Are you? Oh, that's so cool.
I have no idea what that means.
We'll get a
But
picture.
that's okay.
We'll get a picture.
Yeah.
Show me a picture, and then I still won't know what it means, but I'm sure it'll be awesome. Now, I'm not going to make you name names of specific games, so I'm going to ask you kind of in a more general aspect. Are there aspects of certain games, console, PC, even smartphone, that there are aspects of it that you just don't like? I mean, it was funny as I think it was Kate that said that, the UI in a certain game was so sexy. Are there things that are out there in games that will turn you off of a game because of something specific like UI or graphics or anything along those lines?
Bad UI will turn me off on a game right away if it's difficult to use or understand.
Yeah.
Kind of going along with some of the things in this conversation, there are certain games that everybody plays, that a lot of people play that sold a ridiculous million numbers of copies that I will not play because of the way they treat women in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very, very good point.
Yeah.
And now we can talk. Now the door is open.
Yes.
Wait a minute. I want to, because I do want to ask a question about.
Okay, go.
About something else.
Okay. And we messed him up.
My Alzheimer's just kicked in. Oh, I know. Okay, here's a pet peeve of mine. Now, I was ensconced in Batman Arkham Asylum, and then I was totally immersed into Arkham City. Then another company got and did Arkham Origins, and boy, no, just not feeling it. Have you ever had an experience like that where a different company started making a title and it drove you nuts?
Well, so not exactly the same, but for me, I will say one of my old favorites was the King's Quest series of games. And anybody who's played
those, yes,
knows the abomination that was Mask of Eternity, where they took, it's a point-and-click adventure game, and they made it into some weird, first person, and I had a sword. There was a chicken that I was able to behead and watch it run around, and then, I don't know, it was just not the game anymore.
Right.
But as far as I know, that actually was the same company and the same people, so I don't know what they were thinking,
And didn't it just kind of vanish soon after that?
Yeah, well, that unfortunate things happened with the company, so they basically disbanded. And I think actually the same thing happened with the Final Fantasy games when they went to, it was either 10 or 12. They basically got rid of overworld exploration, where you can walk around and just go into random villages and talk to people and go in their houses and look through their stuff. And I liked that part of the game a lot.
Yeah.
But again, it was, with things like that, it sure is the same company, but undoubtedly it's not the same developers because there's so much time elapsed between the different ones that most of those people would be gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
It is very, game industry can be a very transient industry. You move to a new company every couple of years, either because of layoffs or there's a new opportunity or your project ends or whatever. Cryptic is actually unusual in that a lot of us stay here for a long time.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's kind of like the comic book industry where people go from one, Marvel to DC to IDW and then back to DC or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's no such thing as burn bridges.
No, it's very small industry.
Very much.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that we also, we were just starting to touch on, and it's part of the reason why we brought you on, and I want to make sure we get it in before the end of the interview, is the one thing that I noticed personally about working with the three of you and with Cryptic and is the fact that there does seem to be an influx or at least a semi-decent, and I'm meaning semi-decent representation of women who work there, and probably more so than I have seen or have experienced with other development firms. Why is that? Why is it just Star Trek that draws more women to it, or is it just happens to be that because Cryptic happens, I don't know what the representation is like at Neverwinter or the other games that you work with, that Cryptic works on. What's the balance of the female to male ratio there?
Well, so actually, Cryptic has the fewest women of the other game companies I've worked at.
Interesting. Okay.
We have, recently we got a few more, but we might
be up to 15 now.
Yeah, we have fewer than 10% females, maybe fewer than 5% in the company.
Wow.
And let's be clear, it's not because Cryptic doesn't try and hire females.
No, I was never under that impression.
No, not that you were saying that, but just to make sure, it's just that we don't, number one, we're not going to be sexist and say, oh, well, we're going to hire her because she is female. We're going to look at a candidate based on their merits. And number two, there aren't that many females applying. And I don't know why. A lot of people say, well, like, they don't make games for girls, but I think the three of us sitting here, at the very least, can show that that's just not true. Right. We've been playing games our whole lives, and we definitely are girls.
So to be a slight contrast, this is the most women that I've ever worked with at a company, actually. Yeah, the last company I worked at, there were a total of 6, and I think 3 of them were in HR. So, we're developers. I think there was an animator, there was myself, and the design team, and there was a producer at the other place I worked at. So, it's nice to have, actual women developers and people who are, in production and in art and doing things and in all different aspects of the game. And to go touch on, why aren't there more women applying? It's interesting. I've been thinking about this a little bit just because there's a lot of it in the news and how did I end up here? And when I was a kid and games started booming, I remember, gaming was for everybody. And you were either in the Nintendo camp or you were in the Sega camp. And it was...
Sega Genesis?
Master System.
Well, yeah, the original NES when it hit, the U.S. And
see, I had a ColecoVision.
Okay, or you were one of them.
Yeah. Or
I actually had a television. Remember a television?
Right,
I had a television.
Yeah.
I had Pong.
Yeah. See, I was a little different. I was very blatantly told by my parents that video games were for boys.
Yeah.
It wasn't
really.
Yes, and it wasn't until I was older and had some money of my own through birthday presents and such that I went out and bought a Sega Genesis for myself. And my mother is still very confused about how I ended up where I ended up.
Yeah. Mine is a little bit too, but
and my mom plays Baldur's Gate, so
that rocks.
Somewhere around 3rd grade, it became that video games became for boys. At least in my experience, and I was born in '82, so do your math and stuff. And
got in '82. I think I was playing Frogger at the local.
Yeah, I was playing my television because I was in junior high.
No.
I younger than the rest.
I know.
Sweet
the baby.
I know.
What do I know of winter? I know.
Okay, raise hands. How many of us actually saw Star Wars, and I'm not even going to call it Episode 4 in the theater? Is it just Terry and I? And the original run?
I saw it in the theater.
Okay, thank you, Christine.
Thank God. Okay.
I don't remember.
Oh, you be quiet.
Shut up.
Hey, at least I'm older than Tron. I mean, that's another benchmark.
Oh man, that was a great. Sorry.
But, people started so the original NES was bought for the family, and we played that, and then the Super Nintendo was mine because I wanted it, and it was my gift. It was my birthday gift, and then the one after that, I guess it was the GameCube. No, it was the N64.
Yeah.
That was my brother's, and that's around then is kind of when I started getting into PC gaming, and so the PC became mine, and the consoles became my brother's, and that's kind of where my evolution towards a PC gamer happened. But even as I was growing up, I getting on the internet and stuff in the early 90s, people were like, oh, why don't you ask my brother how to fix your computer? I'm like, he's 4 years younger than me and has no idea what you're talking about. Why are you asking him? And it was this kind of assumed thing that these technical stuff was all masculine and very boy things, and it's but he doesn't know how to do any of this stuff. He's a console jockey.
I will say, just a couple of weeks ago, I helped one of our male designers debug a blue BSOD he was getting on his home computer. So
high five.
High five.
But it is definitely, even still, even still, it's just assumed that you don't know as much about the tech side of things.
It's a shame.
My first job in the industry was actually as a scripter, which it was a proprietary position. It's difficult to explain, but it was a high-level programming, if you will. And when I came to Cryptic, I went into QA because it's, number one, I thought it'd be fun to try something new, but number two, it's a great way to get into production, which I did. And I actually almost felt like I was letting down my gender by going to the one discipline within game design that has the most females working in general.
HR will probably have that beat.
HR and business.
And accounting, finance.
Marketing.
Yeah. Oh, and marketing, yeah.
No, I don't think so. Unless that might be wrapped up into business. There was a great magazine called Game Developer Magazine, which would have an annual salary survey, and it would tell you per department or discipline what % were female, what were male. So given that production had the most, I remember it, 17%. To give you an idea of how few of us there are just in general.
Wow. I do have a question. What do you think? You had mentioned earlier about the way that women are treated within the games themselves. I would like you to expound on that. Can you share what are some of your concerns, or bring to light what some of the problems that women in games are faced?
So,
faced with?
Can I throw something onto that, Mike?
By all means.
Because we had a discussion a few episodes ago when the whole Assassin's Creed debacle happened. The knowing giggles. So something like that too, please.
Somewhere, maybe 25, 30 years ago, Nintendo decided that they were going to start marketing to boys. And so they started gendering all of their marketing messaging. And so it worked. And so more of those children grew up thinking that, video games are boys. And their parents, their well-meaning parents, bought into this subconsciously and thought that, video games were for boys. And in a great way, a lot of stuff is considered... if it isn't practical, it isn't for girls. And video games are, in a lot of ways, very, very impractical. So therefore, it must be for boys. And this has kind of grown and evolved. And so these people who grew up with this are now the ones making games. And what do you want to do when you're making games? Well, you want to, do stuff that you find would be fun. And you want to do stuff that empowers you. And so a lot of what happens in video games currently is that they're male power fantasies. And part male power fantasy is you have the buxom woman to save, or you have the slightly slutty prostitute with a heart of gold, or you have what have you, pick a trope. And because there's fewer women, we're not expressing our power fantasies, and our power fantasies are not exactly what a guy's power fantasy is, or what a guy thinks a woman's power fantasy is.
Oh, well said.
And also, I mean, if and I haven't really wanted to name names on specific games, but I will in this instance. The most recent Tomb Raider, there were certain
I knew that's what you were.
Particularly of the way that game was marketed and sold, and their own developers talked about it, that made me really uncomfortable. There were other things I think they did very well, but there was I just wanted to look at all of them and say, did you think about what just came out of your mouth?
Yeah.
Obviously, the answer was no. And if they had, then they needed to be smacked upside the head.
I think part of it is just not realizing, and I'm going to use, privilege, which is a buzzword in certain circles, and oh no's, and comment flame wars appear, and blah, blah, blah. But it isn't really malicious. It is just, this is what we know, and this is what I think is fun, and because there aren't voices saying, that makes me uncomfortable, or how about if we do it this way, or yes and.
Having a constructive feedback.
See, and that's why
I call it guideliners. But there have been times where it has been good to have females on the team, to have me or Kate or someone say, that's really not cool, or maybe we should do it this way, and it gets listened to.
Yeah. So my problem is actually more like as a counterpoint. I actually really love the series Leisure Suit Larry, which
Oh my gosh.
So, in many ways, it's about the objectification of women, but I actually find it really funny, and quite frankly, the women have the power in those games.
See, I find those funny, and that's
Right.
different.
There is a huge difference. I would agree with you on there, and
it's camp.
What gets me is, say, in many genres, like it's specifically a lot of fantasy games will do this, where the higher tier you achieve in your female character, the less her armor will cover her.
Yeah.
And let's be real here. That's not how a warrior would dress.
No.
Yeah.
She's gonna cover her heart and not leave it exposed for everyone to stare at. And honestly, it's that kind of small, insidious thing that really bothers me because I mean, the excuse, if you will, is that's just how it is. That's how fantasy art is. And my comment has been, to friends that will be part of the solution. Then don't add to the problem. And the deal is like Star Trek, we're very tied to the IP.
Right.
Yet at the same time, like you still don't see that many like scantily clad females all over the place. Of course, we nod to the TOS outfits and that sort of thing. But
I'm just saying when you get to the whole, what was the one where the guy?
Are you going to have about the argument with Hab about the Orion scientists?
No. I was going to say the moment that what was the Edo?
Oh yeah.
When the male Edo costumes get into Star Trek Online, then everything will be okay.
We have actually had a call for scants for a while, and I don't think our character art team is ever going to let that happen.
No, it produced the character art team.
Yes, you do.
And that is on my stretch goals.
Yeah.
To get the scant works, whichever.
Yeah.
I am debuting a new scant in Las Vegas this year that I got.
Oh, but there have been instances, where I have been sending emails to the artist that usually start with, "Why is such and such a character in a miniskirt?"
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a couple characters that appeared in when I was developing Sphere of Influence, and I was like, "Hey, is this canon for this particular crew and race and thing?"
Can I just say that I love you so much for that?
Yes.
I do. Yeah. There is something just wholly nerdy and wonderful and Star Trek-y going, hey, stick to canon, would you? I love that.
Christine, I think we talked about it with you, but I'm not sure. Part of the reason that all the art coming out before Legacy of Romulus was I loved her because she looked Romulan in every way, including the way she was dressed.
Oh yeah. It was amazing. Our artist did such a fabulous job. And I play STO, and some of my characters wear miniskirts, and I enjoy it. But if we are going to have, for example, a tactical officer who is going to be doing a jump kick possibly on a regular basis, I'm going to ask for them to be wearing pants.
Makes perfect sense.
No, what are you talking about, Mike?
I am there. No, I'm there with her. That's why I have multiple. That's why I have so many damn.
We've got like 30 costume slots.
That's why Caspian has 30 costume slots. It's because we know that when we get together and we're raiding together, or we're doing some kind of a ground thing together, it's what are we getting into next? Oh, everybody change. we have coordinating outfits. But and a lot of that is, again, for me as a player, because I personally like to see my character kind of adhere to a more, kind of that idea of what a canon thing would be. I allow my characters to have that freedom. I have to say, everybody did a fantastic job on Ryza this year. The summer event was a blast, and I loved the new additions, and I love the fact that, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but I do have to say right now, I totally appreciated the fact that there were men walking around on Ryza with the feminine walk.
You're welcome.
I appreciated that. That was awesome.
I went in and created a lot of costumes, which is what we call them, for the civilians on Ryza, and I had a blast. I was just having so much fun, and I thought, we have too many things that just look the same, and I'm going to have some of the guys be wearing a little less, and some of the girls be wearing a little more, and you don't have to stick to gender normative roles.
Exactly, but it's also like on Nimbus, in the nightclub in Nimbus, there are male dancers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I noticed that, too. Beth noticed that right off the bat. She was there.
It's really important to have, a female voice and a female look, engaging in some of this. Like, my desk is right next to Maria's, and I could see her, hear her cracking herself up as she's, doing some of these costumes, and it was delightful to see them running around.
Let's
it was great.
be realistic.
Yeah.
Everyone on the team can hear
This is true.
Like,
when I was on Champions, we were developing the Canadian zone, and I noticed that they were all white dudes. And I was kind of like, is there a reason that this is the Great White North?
Yeah.
And the artists, they're like, oh, no, well, when we built these, the female rig was broken, so none of the costumes have been made. And so I was like, oh, okay, so I made a whole bunch of female costumes because that organization, Until, is supposed to be, egalitarian and stuff. And so I added some, persons of color because, you know what? They exist, and they're supposed to, and represent.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We make a conscious effort to look at gender balance, to look at species balance, to make sure there are characters of color. And I think it contributes. It's part of Star Trek, and I think it contributes to the world.
Yeah.
So how did you feel when that Assassin's Creed thing happened then? Because we laughed outright at them.
There was a little bit of a face palming there. I mean, there might be development things going on. I don't know how their engines work or exactly what's going on behind the scenes. But, we
raised a Vulcan eyebrow, and you know it.
Yes. We always, game development is always a series of, okay, let's try to get as much as possible in the time and resources we have. And, okay, we're going to have to cut something to get something else.
Yeah.
But there's a point where you're like, that's what you cut? Really?
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, I know that we're kind of ramping up. We want to let you ladies go home for the day. But I also wanted to ask real quick, because we've been really good. What is it that I know you can't talk about stuff that's coming up? We're not talking about.
Don't ask, Terry.
Huh?
Don't ask what they can't answer.
I'm not going to ask that. I'm just going to say, in using the term appropriately in the most cryptic way possible. What generally do you ladies think that we should be looking forward to?
She's trying so hard to ask it without asking.
Well, I will answer this in the same way. Given that I know your fondness for Foundry stuff, I think you should look forward to all the things that I will be spending my nights adding for costumes and so forth.
Michael, are you starting to weep yet?
My ears are perked up.
So look for the patch notes for season 9.5, and
I'm twirling my beard.
What has started to come out, and it's an ongoing effort. I have long said I don't know how to add costumes to the Foundry, y'all. I would do it if I could. Well, good news, I found out how. So that's the safe thing that I can mention. Other than that, everything is awesome. Yeah. Look forward to everything, because it's amazing.
You will find out more soon.
Soon TM.
Soon TM.
Soon TM, yeah.
Actually, one of the things I think is that we haven't really talked about, we've talked about females in gaming as far as development, but we haven't really talked about some of the fan response to females in gaming.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's cool and sometimes it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at least all four of us have dealt with that, and whether it be in a forum situation, regardless if it was even STO.
I will say I have gotten emails asking me to step aside and let a man who understands Star Trek.
What?
I think people like Snodgrass and DC Fontana might have something to say about the fact that apparently women don't understand Star Trek.
I think that we all acknowledge the frustrations that all of us have had through our careers, not just in dealing with with gaming, but kind of that dual and almost a double-edged sword where you're dealing with a well-loved, geeky, let's put it where it really is, where that canon-centric IP, not unlike Star Wars or anything that Star Trek is. So when you're a woman who's dealing with gaming and with Star Trek, you're getting it from both sides.
Yeah,
you're getting in the double.
The vast majority of the people are awesome, but you get that whole concept of the fake geek.
Oh gosh. Like last year at Vegas, I was following Nick around like a lost baby bird, because I had not been there before, and he's like, well, Thomas did this. Thomas the cat had done that for Taco Fangs before, so he's like, I'll take you around. I was like, awesome. And we were going around talking to people and seeing the various stuff, and I'm like, I'm totally getting the, you don't even matter because you are the bored girlfriend look. That like it was just kind of just eyes pass over. It was attendees. It was people working there. It was everything. I was like completely invisible, and it was really weird, and it was kind of bizarre. And then I realized, oh crap, because I wasn't wearing any swag. I wasn't certain I was going until like a few days before. So it was kind of like woohoo. But here I am. I'm a developer and a lifelong fan of the series, and I could probably stand toe to toe with some of those people in terms of like fact checking. And I was very glad that nobody geek checked me though. That was really good.
I do want to add one last thing in case, because we've had some negative things to say, that Cryptic is a phenomenal place to work. Though there may not be many females here, it's just like it
I don't think that you were being negative at all. I think that you were being realistic.
I don't know if you saw the one reason why Twitter campaign that happened last year with all the people talking about all the horrible things that had happened to them in the game industry. That does not happen.
No, it's almost unfathomable. We have such a great group of people here that it's kind of.
Do you think that has a lot to do with the IP you're working on?
No.
Or is it a good company culture?
It's a good company culture.
It's a good company culture. I mean, even before we got, because I was working at Cryptic a little bit before we got the Trek license, because it was actually brought on to work on Marvel and then Champions.
Yeah, that's when I was
but it's just a very good place to be. And, some of our upper management, they really treat everybody like family, and it kind of filters down throughout the whole company.
And let's go into it right now, because you had all talked about it before, because there is such a notorious high turnover rate in the industry itself. How long have you been with Cryptic?
I have been here right around 7 years now.
I'm like it's about almost 6 years now. It'll be 6 years this upcoming November.
And I just hit 5.
Yeah.
And I will say, as an example, the last company I was at was it's called Shiny. They worked on a little game, Earthworm Jim, and the Matrix games. Anyway,
like Princess Slug for a butt?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they had, and this is not unique to them as a studio, but generally speaking, what most console studios do, and probably most non-online PC studios do, is at the start of a game, they will hire everyone, and they'll usually hire you on a contract, so you don't get benefits. Mine was for a year. At the end of that year, or when the project shifts, whichever, they let you go. And they maintain a staff that isn't let go every time. Oh, I don't know, like we ramped up to 60, 80 people, and the number of people that stay between projects is maybe 20. So that is one of the big reasons turnover is so high. It's not just that people leave, it's that the hiring practices have long been, we'll hire you almost more like a contractor for a house, right?
Or like a movie studio.
Right.
We'll hire you, we need some walls built, we'll hire you, you'll do that, and then we're done, and you will go. And then, so since a lot of people who've been in the industry a while, that's what they're used to, they actually will start to get antsy around that, 2-year mark, because that's typically a standard development, 2 to 4 years. And so they will then, once the game has shipped, or after a certain amount of time, they'll say, okay, I gotta go somewhere else.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
We actually shocked one of our artists. So they gave us challenge points for 5-year service for, I think, 7.
No, 8.
No, 5, 8, and 10. Yeah, 5, 8, and 10. And we have a number of 10s. And this is shocking because it's really very, very rare in our industry. Yeah. And I got my 5-year, Christine got her 5-year, Maria had hers, and one of our artists is just like, wait, what? Because he was coming up on I guess, 1.5 year, 2-year mark or something like that. And he's just like, wait, what? And we're like, yeah, no, we've been here since,
I still feel like one of the new people sometimes, because it's something like 37% of the company has been here for more than 5 years.
Wow.
So It's like, how can I have been at a place 5 years and still feel new? Like, still look around, and of course,
that's awesome.
That have been here.
Yeah, yeah. Now, and I'm assuming that all of you feel that even if you wanted to, God forbid, we would be very upset, but if you wanted to move on to a different project or a different game, that you would have that freedom to do so within Cryptic itself.
Oh, I did, actually.
Yeah.
I had a sabbatical of sorts on the core team. So I left Star Trek right after Legacy of Romulus launched, and I went over to production on the engine side of things. So I produced the graphics programmers and the tools programmers, that sort of thing. And it was great. I mean, they loved me, I loved them, but ultimately, we really needed somebody else to come back on Star Trek. They had a hard time filling my shoes, which is a good deal.
Because they're awesome shoes.
They are awesome shoes.
No, you would love them.
Oh, we'll have to tweet you a picture or something, Terry. They're amazing shoes. You would approve.
We'll have Christine tweet a picture.
And I am an enthusiast. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Beards and boots. I'm just saying.
There is a fair amount of they want us to be happy. If there is space and your team doesn't desperately need your skills, they're very open to allowing you to move around and stuff like that. But sometimes it's well, no, we really need you to stay here and hold this line, or we really need your production services because we can't do that, or no, we really need you to do this job for us. But
it'll usually be time limited.
Yeah.
So for the people they say look, we know you want to move, but please, we really need you. They'll say, but we'll look to fill your position and help you move over.
Yeah. If you speak up and let them know, they're pretty good about okay, well, what's the timeline you're looking at? Because they want to keep us here. They want to keep us happy and working because, it's an investment of time and energy in teaching to learn all our tools and learn the cryptic way. As we call it. and get integrated with the team. And when you find somebody who's awesome, they're more of the opinion that we want to keep you and keep you happy and keep you working than, forget you're out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're very, very, very excited about the continued growth and how shall we say, the future for Star Trek Online, and we're always so grateful to talk to all three of you. I always have such a great time talking to you. I can't wait to see
so much fun.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to see
I'm going to Vegas. I'll see you then.
It is always great to talk to you and the other podcasts, but you have always been such a great support for us, and it's amazing. And
thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
We do what we can. Just keep doing what you do, because that's it gives us something to look forward to, something to talk about, something always fun. So
and Christine, we'll talk about things you can't talk about in Las Vegas.
Oh, don't do that. I'm not going to be there. That's no fun.
Yeah. When I'm allowed to talk about certain things, I will happily discuss them with you, but unfortunately right now, not yet.
Fine. Make me adhere to rules. I'll be good.
It's only a couple of
because we all like our jobs and we want to keep them.
Yeah.
I don't think no,
it's kind of selfish.
I'll just say I'm more easily plied with alcohol than these two.
Yeah.
But I'll have a place to stay for the convention, so I'm not going to put that out.
Wait a minute. I could dump somebody.
No, you would not. Nick Minetti. He's gonna get that for that. I'm loving it. It's gonna be great. Sorry, Trevor.
I just want it noted for the record that an hour and 5 minutes in, it was not me that did it. It was Terry.
We always try to make sure we mind our language when it comes to talking to Cryptic. So Michael will edit that out.
It will be beeped.
It will be beeped. Well, it'll be tribbled.
Yeah, just triple it out, because then there's less of a chance it's not airing.
Haven't heard us around the office, especially when things are going well.
Yeah. We know, but we have that whole we'll adhere to the guidelines thing. Just like you guys have to adhere to guidelines about not telling us what's coming up for, season, or even X2. So, that's what we're calling it, right? That's the next expansion, that's what we're calling it, yeah.
We've heard...
I don't know. Huh?
We've heard many things. And we sit here with our Cheshire smiles and...
All right. right, ladies, thank you so much again. Nick, you want to take us out?
And we would like to thank the lovely ladies of the Cryptic Ladies, if you will, for joining us. Kate, Maria, and Christine. And ladies, be safe in your travels to any cons that you're going to, please. And I will be buying some extra alcohol. Michael, anything to add?
It's been a pleasure, and we hope to do this again sometime soon. Kapla!
Anytime. Just let us know.
Stay classy.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Joel on True.
Joel on True.
G&T Show is a Busy Little Beaver production.
Music for the G&T Show is provided by Warp 11, Grethor, 5 Year Mission, and Andrew Allen's Smooth Federation.